Andy Zaltzman back in the house, everybody.
Yeah.
Hi, Andy. No present for you today, but
oh, that's a shame.
Who needs a present when we have Miguel Herrera, one of the all-time World Cup greats, surely?
Yeah, it was an absolutely spectacular performance. I mean, he reacted to that first Mexican goal like Eric Pickles would react if he just found out he'd won Rear of the Year. It was a spectacular reaction. That's what you want to see in football. Only sport can produce that kind of emotion. You don't get George Osborne getting the latest quarterly economic figures and charging up and down Downing Street like that.
You don't know Osborne like I do. A great quote from Herrera in the build-up to the game. He said, we've focused on offence, defence and set pieces, so everything.
Right. Well, that's good. Goalkeeping clearly been, I guess that's part of defence.
Let's move on to Cameroon, Brazil. Yeah. Brazil finally clicking, do you think? 4-1. The scoreline suggests something.
Yeah, they click though in the manner of a hip coming in and out of joints though. I guess Neymar was spectacular.
Yeah.
Fred scored one of the great goals. Basically, it seemed to be off a combination of his nose and his moustache. His new, I mean, a very impressive moustache growth.
Wasn't it?
Just a few days between the two games. I think it was some kind of Velcro. He was hoping to catch the ball on his face and just walk it into the goal. But it was. People often say with the kind of flair South American players, could they do it on a wet Wednesday evening in Stoke? I think Fred could play exactly the way he's been playing so far on a wet Wednesday evening.
I'd love to see that. Love to see that. Everyone talks about being over-reliant on Neymar. Do you think they are any more so than, say, Argentina are on Messi?
I think they are more reliant on Neymar than Argentina are on Messi. Argentina have got more other attacking options, albeit that in the last game they all played absolute rubbish apart from Messi. Hulk, I'm not sure. Hulk, in that game yesterday, I think he missed the previous game injured, maybe wasn't fully up to speed, but he had a first touch reminiscent of an early First World War tank and the delicacy of a young Norman Tebbit. So it was not looking too promising for the Brazilians. And their defence, you could drive a bus through their defence. Well, clearly you could drive a bus through most defences. If you drive a bus at any group of people, they would generally get out of the way. But the point is they wouldn't have had to get very far out of the way. So.
Only on this show when you hear Hulk compared to Norman Tebbit, by the way. Costa Rica, England tonight, the very definition of depressing as far as England fans are concerned.
Yeah, it's the biggest match in the history of English football in the last 2 days.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. I mean, it'll be quite sad if they go out with 3 defeats because they played much more good football probably in this World Cup than in the previous 2 combined. But they made the key strategic error of being drawn in a tough group, which was a Capello masterstroke last time that he could get through at least into the knockout stages, despite playing like a group of 11 potatoes. So
the big story, of course, is the young players being given a start. He make 9 changes to the team. Frank Lampard's probably going to skipper the team as well. Could be his swan song for England. Do you think Gerrard should stick around post this tournament?
I think probably. I don't know. It's hard to tell really. I hope they sort of stick with the shoots of the small green shoots of recovery that we've seen. Obviously, what is a green shoot might turn out to be some hideous weed, or it might turn out to be a beautiful rose. Who knows? But. It's just disappointing all round, isn't it? I mean, we don't get enough knockout games in World Cups as England fans, so we won't have had one for 8 years by the time the next World Cup comes around, and the only one we would have had was that humiliation by Germany. So, yeah, all pretty annoying, frankly.
In a great mood by the sound of it for tonight.
Yeah, fantastic. And well, I mean, this was made doubly worse by I'm a massive cricket fan, so it's been a really tough few days. I mean, this is national disintegration. I blame Thatcher.
Well, let's try and cheer you up, Andy, by previewing tonight's 4 games. 3 cards you can play during these. Breakout Star, Unsung Hero and Head-to-Head. So choose them wisely. We'll start with Italy-Uruguay. This will definitely cheer you up because you want to pick out Marco Rodriguez in this
Yes,
game.
Yeah, he's my Breakout Star, the referee Marco Rodriguez, the Mexican whistle man. Massive opportunity for Rodriguez to become a global star. What we've got here, Italy-Uruguay, one of them's going home, one of them's going through. 2 very combustible footballing nations. There is a real chance for Rodriguez to make his mark on World Cup history. There are going to be some cards flying around. One of these teams, possibly both of these teams, could lose it completely. And it's been a very disappointing World Cup for referees. Only about 5 red cards so far. No I mean, very few really ridiculous carding decisions, and I mean, you want to see that in a World Cup. You want to see some massive injustices, and all we've had is a couple of dodgy penalty calls. So
both the carding decisions and, of course, the display of the card as well. Histrionically, we've seen a bit more of that, I think.
Yeah, and also as a Mexican, you know, he's probably having seen how his manager reacted yesterday. I imagine that's basically the internal monologue of all Mexicans made flesh, and so he's probably going to be a bit overexcited after his team did so well against Croatia. So this is a real opportunity for Rodrigo. I'm involved in a referee sweepstake, where referee that gives out the most cards wins, and I think whoever's got Marco Rodriguez could really be
odds on favourite. Right, moving on to Costa Rica, England, a dead rubber, of course, as far as England are concerned anyway. That's your head-to-head, isn't it?
Yeah, my head-to-head is England versus a crushing sense of disappointment and wildly negative punditry, because I think, you know, England would have prepared for a lot of things before this Costa Rica match and the build-up to the World Cup. They might have laid plans for how to stop Joel Campbell's live wire attacking, or the artistic schemings of Brian Ruiz, or the swift and mobile counter-attacking of the Costa Rican team. They probably didn't prepare for coming up against a crushing sense of disappointment, and that is going to be their biggest opponent.
How would they react to it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting that he's made a lot of change. I think he's going to again put Lampard man-to-man on the crushing sense of disappointment.
Would make sense,
his leadership skills would get on top. And from the punditry point of view, you know, it's basically, but it shows the difference with international football that had basically England's 2 games been transported into league football, it would have been mid-table team that won 1 trophy in the mid-60s, loses 2 consecutive games, and no one would have noticed. But because it's England, it is a national disaster, and the heads must roll. And also, I mean, all these bizarre things about the players not caring. Their players seem to be really trying in this one. I think that's the last thing you could accuse them of in this World Cup. But it just goes to show that when England lose, all logic and reason goes out of the window, like a mishit pass from a 90s midfielder. So.
Well, I'm looking forward to that head-to-head, absolutely acutely. Japan, Colombia, maybe less so, although, as we often find, games that don't necessarily stand out on paper, Algeria, South Korea being a good example, turn out to be barnstormers, don't they?
Yes, I mean, there's not a lot of, well, I can't imagine there's a great deal of historic sporting or political rivalry between Japan and Colombia. They're about as far apart as nations can be, I guess. But yeah, there's been, I mean, who would have thought, well, you know it's a good World Cup when Algeria versus South Korea has more than 0 goals in it. Yeah. And particularly when it has 6 more than 0 goals. That is a good World Cup. We were discussing earlier on about which team we like the least in the World Cup. Greece was a contender among some of us. They're up against the Ivory Coast, and they're the subject of your final card. Yeah, my unsung hero is, from this game, Greece-Ivory Coast, is whoever has the tragic misfortune to be playing up front for Greece, because that is the most thankless job in world sport, possibly in the world. I mean, now what is the point? I don't even know why Greece bothers playing a forward, because they don't even try to score goals. The manager, Fernando Santos, described critics of his style with Greece as football illiterates. Well, if so, then I'm happy not to be able to read whatever he's reading, because it is the football equivalent of a textbook of advanced accountancy. And they had 25% possession in their last game. Yeah. Can they go lower than that? Oh, I don't know. I think they'd be disappointed that I think they've had 14 shots in 2 games, 3 on target or something. I think they'd be disappointed it's that many. That really goes against everything Greek football stand. A lot of time wasting in the last game as they hung on for a draw with 10 men. But I guess when you've wasted the last 2,500 years as a nation, a few extra minutes writhing around on the ground isn't going to make much difference. But playing up front for Greece, to me, that is basically about as pointless as Captain Scott's Bermuda shorts. I mean, they were realistically never going to get an outing. Right, that's just about it for today's show. Many thanks to Andy Zaltzman, everybody. Excellent, my friend. Always fun when he's in the house. Let us know your predictions for tonight's games in the comments below. Oh, what's your prediction for England-Costa Rica? I think he's going to win 6-0 and be let through to the second round on artistic impression. I love it. I love it. Don't forget to subscribe for more great World Cup content. Coming up tomorrow, Danny Higginbottom is making his first appearance on the show. Woo! Yeah. Looking forward to that. So for that and much, much more, check it out right here. See you tomorrow. Now, you signed the desk already, haven't you, Zolt? I signed it twice. You signed it twice. Yeah. What can we... predictions. Jimmy Floyd gave a prediction for a game. 4-0 Jimmy Floyd went for. So almost that was the Brazil-Cameroon game. Why don't you predict the Greece game? And we'll see Greece. If you're right. You can write it on here. Okay. Write the prediction there. Yeah. And we'll check and see next time you're in. Greece, 0. That's a surprise. Ivory Coast, 2. 2-0.